Ever had a landlord try to scam you only to trap themselves with their own lease? When I first moved from Los Angeles to New York City, I thought I was ready for the change. Rent was the same, $1,350. But what that bought me couldn't have been more different. In LA, that price got me a master bedroom with a walk-in closet, my own bathroom, and just 3 roommates. In New York, the same amount got me, well, a glorified shoebox. The ceilings were so low that if I raised my arms to put on deodorant, I'd scrape my elbows. The bathroom felt like it had been built into an old closet, and walking up 7 flights of stairs every single day slimmed me down to exactly 135.0 pounds. I had 5 roommates, one of them a nurse, which was the only positive I could find. At least the place was pet-friendly and had an in-unit washer and dryer, rare luxuries in the city. But overall, I hated living there. 2 months in, my company went fully remote. That was all the excuse I needed. I packed up and headed to the Caribbean, planning to ride out the rest of my lease from paradise. And while I was down there, something incredible happened. I won the New York City housing lottery. For the first time in my life, I could afford to live by myself. In New York, no less. I'd read on forums that landlords usually let tenants break their leases if they win the lottery. It's almost a celebrated thing, and everyone moves on happy. So, full of optimism, I emailed the management company, explained my situation, and asked about ending my lease early. That's when things got messy. Management told me to contact the brokerage. The brokerage said I'd need to pay them $1,350 as a broker's fee and continue paying rent until they filled the room, or I could try to find a replacement tenant myself. Fine, I thought. Challenge accepted. I hustled and actually found someone. A guy already applying for another unit with the same broker. He wanted my exact room. I thought this was solved. But then management dropped a bomb. They wanted him to pay $1,400 instead of the $1,350 written in my lease. I was floored. This was, hands down, the worst apartment I'd ever lived in. I couldn't in good conscience convince someone else to pay more for it, but time was ticking. My potential replacement wanted to move on August 1st, which meant I had to line up movers to get my stuff into storage. But if management didn't approve the deal, there was no point. I argued that raising the rent meant a new lease, and if they wanted to do that, they had to release me from mine. They refused. Instead, they doubled down. Either I paid the broker's fee or forfeited my deposit and kept paying rent until they rented it out. They wanted to make more money and assume zero risk while I was left footing the bill. I told them it was unfair. Their response? There's no lease takeover clause in your lease. Read your lease. We were doing you a favor before, but now we'll only go by the lease. So I did exactly that. I pulled out my lease, thinking I'd find the $500 takeover fee I vaguely remembered. Instead, I didn't find that clause at all. What I found was on the very first page, staring me in the face. Clause 2. Length of lease. Lease term begins February 1st, 2022 and ends August 31st, 2022. I couldn't believe it. My lease was ending in just over a month. Perfect timing, since my new place was available on August 25th. Suddenly, I didn't need to rush movers or fight tooth and nail to get management's approval. They'd told me to read my lease, and in doing so, they'd handed me the golden ticket. I called management back, calm as can be, and asked where I should send my 30-day notice of intent to vacate, since the lease didn't specify. They immediately pushed back, saying I couldn't break the lease. I corrected them. I'm not breaking it. It ends next month. Here's a photo of the first page. The manager sputtered. Then he said, "You know it's a year-long lease. That's a typo. I just took over managing the building, and I inherited some bad leases." I nearly laughed. Well, I told him, I was doing you a favor before, but now I can only go by the lease. If it says my term ends next month, then I have to honor that. He hung up, furious. That evening, he called me back with an entirely different tone. No more arrogance, no more fighting, just resignation. "You can move out on the 31st. We'll do a final walkthrough and return your deposit." And just like that, the battle was over. Since I was still enjoying the Caribbean, my cousin agreed to sublet the place for August, and by the time I returned, I walked straight into my new apartment, alone, free from roommates, and grinning ear to ear. All because management told me to read my lease.